All right, listen, I came across this story the other day, and to be perfectly honest, I don't fully understand this. But I have an iPhone, and a lot of us do, and I thought we should probably know this. So you have probably seen this thing. If you keep photos on your iPhone, right? You store them, whatever. Every now and then you'll get something from Apple, which basically is a memory reel. And it'll put together photos from roughly the same time. So like I have one that just came up like a week ago of a vacation we took a year ago. And there's a whole bunch of photos that come up and it plays a little music in the background for it. It's actually pretty cool. But then on closer look, our next guest discovered something I didn't know was going on. Chrys Vilvang is a Concordia PhD candidate in communication studies. He's on the line. Chrys, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Please explain to me what exactly is going on and how you discovered this. So I brought up this memory reel feature, which I thought everybody kind of liked. What did you find out?
Well, I wish I could take credit for discovering this, but it was actually the journalists at 9 to 5 Mac, which is a tech website dedicated to investigating these things. And what they discovered was in a operating software beta update that certain locations were being excluded from memories. Now, in this case, it was actually 12 sites that are all directly connected to the Holocaust in one way or another. And so what the update meant was that photos taken at this site or these sites would not be featured in people's memories.
Okay, I don't get that. So I'm trying to understand why this specifically, like what would be the issue here? They didn't want to, I mean, first of all, someone made this decision, right?
Yeah, it would have been a decision from somebody, one of the higher ups at Apple.
And for some reason, if you're going to visit, I don't know, Auschwitz or something, anything to do with the Holocaust, and you posted pictures or took those pictures, when your memory reel would come up, it might show you that you visited this particular place without giving you any details or any pictures of anything they consider to be, what, inflammatory or potentially what?
Well, I imagine that it's because the memories are typically geared towards kind of happier instances or holidays, and there's a certain gravity that comes with the photographs that people tend to take at these sites that may not be kind of in line with the way that Apple would like people to remember their history and their personal experiences.
So Apple is now going to control your definition or your, I don't know, your reality of a situation based on what they decide you should know or should see or shouldn't see.
Exactly. So I think the kind of first rollout is these Holocaust-related sites, but the kind of, we don't know what future updates or future iterations may consider to be particularly sensitive or anything else.
So you mentioned the Holocaust specifically. Have there been other situations, things that did not show up for whatever this same reason would have been that we know of?
Now, so far to my knowledge, this is the only one that we kind of are aware of on the public record.
I'm sorry, is this crazy or am I crazy?
I find it to be quite an alarming development in many ways. There are certainly a lot of angles you could kind of consider what it means to have certain types of histories privileged and certain types of histories omitted when people are interacting with their kind of personal photographs.
Okay, and what has been, I mean, you mentioned the people from Mac 9 to 5 doing this. What has been a reaction ever since this was discovered?
Well, the reaction I found was actually very well considered and quite even keel. People were not only considering what it means to omit the Holocaust from people's memories, but also what it might mean to omit other things. So you can imagine a lot of the kind of typical conversation around these technologies is, of course, you maybe get a memory of a deceased relative or an ex-boyfriend or something that maybe wasn't exactly what you were hoping to remember at a given moment, and it creates an emotional response. But when you think about what other types of things may be targeted, you can imagine, if you're at a protest and there's evidence of some kind of wrongdoing, that might be targeted in some way. The implications are quite vast.
Yeah, they are, and they're beyond being vast. They're kind of scary, I think, at the same time.
Absolutely.
And I'm reading here as well. I wasn't aware. I thought this was just an issue re-Holocaust, but apparently, from what we're seeing here, journalists who discovered this also found at least, a dozen other sites, all related to the Holocaust, also would not come up. So beyond concentration camps, Holocaust memorial sites, the Anne Frank House in Amsterdam, even the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington.
Yeah, they've chosen this kind of original rollout, these sites that are all probably sites where the types of photographs that you would take would not be of, an otherwise happy vacation or an otherwise happy moment in the vacation. It's a moment for reflection of a different kind. And I guess that type of reflection or that type of kind of historical outlook on something is not really favored by this technology at this time.
So I understand this is an algorithm, which makes me wonder, can you override this somehow on your phone?
The algorithm itself, you can adjust some of the settings. So you can say, I don't want you to feature maybe this person if you've named some of the names that the computer vision will recognize. But it's not ever going to be fully controllable. There's 11 billion computations that occur per photograph, and the degree of kind of technical knowledge required to calibrate that for an individual user would be far too much for the average user.
Yeah, I can only do a few billion at a time. What's been reaction from Apple? Has there been any?
So Apple has not made a statement on this. It's really just the journalists who discovered this. And then there's been quite a public reaction, which is actually where my research came in to see what the people who were aware of this post were saying about it.
Okay, and where does it go from here, do you think?
Well, this is the big question. Because we are increasingly, I should say decreasingly aware of the systems that manage our memories and kind of contain the abundance of photographs that we take, the future is pretty unknowable. The only thing we do know is that we're going to continue to take probably more photographs than ever before, and the types of tools that we use to kind of access our personal histories and our personal archives are going to be automated by systems that we don't have a great understanding of.
And again, that's kind of scary to hear as well. And I haven't even brought up those two letters, right? I haven't even said AI.
Yeah, well, AI is where it gets really tricky because it may not even be the people at Apple making the decisions at a certain point.
Well, you've scared us all out of our minds. All right. Well, listen, I thank you so much. And by the way, if you find this has happened to you, is part of the suggestion here to let Apple know that you're not cool with this, or can we do anything?
Well, I think all you can really do is be aware of every time you get a little notification on your phone that says, hey, remember this day, or remember this trip, or remember this person. Just try to consider whether or not it's actually how you would want to remember it or what you would choose to remember at that time.
Wow, we are living in scary times. All right. Thank you so much, Chrys. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Chrys Vilvang, Concordia PhD candidate. I mean, the part that really kind of made me sit back and go, wait a sec, is the part where he said maybe Apple doesn't even necessarily know. If AI is somehow doing this and embedded in the system, it may not even be them having made this decision. But I am sure they're going to have to react to this because that's absolutely crazy. That's frightening. To think that they could be editing those photos that you took and deciding which ones you get to see and which ones you don't? Wow.